Opinion Journal. I'm Mary Kissel. New information has emerged in the San Bernardino massacre. The female suspect, Tashveen Malik, pledged her support to ISIS before committing the murders. Baker Hostetler partner David Rivkin, a noted constitutional scholar who has worked everywhere from the White House to the Department of Justice, joins the show. David, this new information is raising renewed concerns about the tools that our intelligence agencies have to fight terrorism. Do they have the tools they need to prevent another attack?
Mary, good to be with you. Those tools have been severely degraded. We obviously are talking about an individual, and here it happened in very close proximity to the attack. But let's say she pledged that allegiance even 24 hours earlier, or manifested her radicalized beliefs earlier. If you have the intelligence community that is able to engage in surveillance, the kind of surveillance that just went out the window with the end of metadata collection, remember just a few days ago, Section 215 of the Patriot Act collection came to an end. That type of collection, looking at the social sites, we're talking about information that's not entitled to legitimate expectation of privacy. We're talking about people really manifesting their beliefs on social media. That type of collection would have been enormously useful, but that unfortunately is not with us anymore.
Do we need a kind of Patriot Act 2.0, David, to give the intelligence agencies tools, not just about things like metadata collection, but, for example, the visa waiver programs or other ways that we could screen potential terrorists?
I think we do need to do that, and we basically need to push back. Look, in a democracy, everything begins first with a dialogue about what is the threat assessment, what is the permissible range of things that can be done. We, of course, have the left pushing hard to say that any efforts of that nature stigmatize the Muslim citizens and would only help ISIS and other radical organizations. That's absurd. We're not talking about stigmatizing anybody. We're talking about engaging in a vigorous legally legitimate collection methods. For example, apparently the male shooter had communications by phone, presumably, with known radicals. Well, if you had a metadata, not to be obsessing about metadata only, the metadata collection program, we would have known that this individual, who apparently has not drawn notice up to that point on his own, was talking to people who have drawn notice. That would have enabled law enforcement to go and obtain a warrant to actually more closely look at the content of his communications. To me, it's just insanity. The government is failing in the most basic mission, which is to protect the American people.
We had an op-ed by David Shedd on our pages. You can find it up on WSJ.com, called How Obama Unilaterally Chilled Surveillance. And he made the point that the president himself, by executive action, has removed tools from our intelligence agencies to fight this war, David. Is there anything that can be done about that? Can Congress pressure the president to reinstate some of those tools?
Well, Congress can pass legislation. I don't think it is going to happen because this president would veto it. You're making an excellent point, Mary. Congress can do many things, but ultimately it is the president, who is the head of the executive branch, that sets the tenor of things, provides incentives and disincentives for the intelligence community, issues executive orders. And this president, look, if we had the most perfect legislation passed tomorrow, despite all the congressional gridlock, he would not implement it. This administration has been notorious for not implementing the law. Look at immigration, a variety of other areas. So we need a wholesale change in Washington if this change is going to occur. But I think it would have to occur. We are in a way, we're reacting worse to what's happening here threat-wise than the Europeans, which is quite stunning.
It is really saying something. It's time to beef up our tools to fight terror. David Rivkin, thank you for joining the show.